Welcome to the Smithy, everybody. Yeah, you're here. The problem is, I am learning from ground zero how to start a fire again using coke rather than charcoal in a pot that wants to keep shoving the coke down back where it can be in the airflow. And I'm finding it quite the challenge. I got something going in there. Let's see if I can keep it going. I got charcoal on top of paper that I then hope will get hot enough to start the coke. How are you this morning? My dial-a-tweer, I've only got one port open at the moment just to get the fire started. Right there at the front. Speaking of which, let me grab that wonderful hammer from Fire Creek Forge, because I'm going to make a leaf this morning using a railroad spike, because why not? Earl already forged in the end for me. And then I'll have to decide what else to do with the rest of the railroad spike. Yeah, I want to get the hammering too. We'll supplement with a little gas here. I think what I'm learning is I need to scoop out the coke, or push it back anyway, get a fire going, and then pull the coke in on top of it. Trial and error is what I've got going on here right now. Not a lot of people talk about how to start a fire. Cranking with Jack. Well, some call me a crank, so that seems appropriate. We've got fire now. Let's see if I can push that fire back by changing where the air is coming from, or pull the fire back. Yeah, I tried to get the fire going ahead of the stream. I think I gave it about 20 minutes of effort, trying different things. I learned that I can't start coke with just the gas bottle. I learned that I can't start the coke just by shoving some paper under it. Then I tried throwing some paper and some wood. The wood all burned up before the coke caught. So now I'm trying paper and charcoal. And that seems to be doing the trick. As long as I could get the charcoal to actually catch. I know how to get charcoal catching, so I really do think the answer is gonna be pull the coke out of the pot, if you will. Yeah, things are starting to cook now. I can smell it. And get my charcoal going, and then put the coke back on top. Yeah, well, my buddy was awesome, and his brother, also a friend, but not. I honestly don't know Steven nearly as well as I know Earl. He just gave him a call, and Steven brought over. Yeah, it's doing good now. Steven brought over two. I think they were 50-pound bags. He only asked for one. He brought over two. So I will say, having used it last week and how easy it got things warmed up, a lot less time at the blower crank. I'm a convert. Doesn't mean charcoal will go away. Clearly, it's a good fuel for getting things started up. Let's go ahead and bury this piece. And now we have a coke fire going. You can smell the difference. The volatiles will stop and I won't stink so much. But it's also cooking stuff that I set behind it. I'd be real happy if the smoke would start going up the flue instead of out at me. The flue has to warm up just a little bit, I guess, for that to work. That's looking good. All right, time to break out my railroad spike tongs. Oh, let's see. There we go. There's the good way to see it. Railroad spike tongs, shaped in such a way as to where we got to go. Take that spike head and go around it, and then just pressure hold by pushing the top of it against the two fingers. I can either do it that way or I can do it that way. Doesn't really matter. It grabs either way. I think I'll go this way. Let's get some iron hot. Start working. Did you have a good week, Trail Dust? Yeah. So those that trip along on this video after it's posted, last week was my first week working with coal. And I was told that I would just leave it alone and the fire would go out, and it was absolutely correct. I was impressed at how maintenance-free things are with coal than with charcoal. So much smoke. And clearly that smoke doesn't burn like charcoal smoke does, because you wouldn't see so much of it. We're literally cooking it off. Now the first heat of this metal is going to take a little longer than all the rest. It's got to kind of soak through all that mass. And since I'm not using the 3/8 inch this time to do this, instead I'm using, let's see, what is this? Caliper says. Caliper has no battery. Oh, there we go. It had a battery. So, yeah, there we go. We don't want millimeters. Well, I can tell people millimeters. It's 6 millimeters, 6.2. And hold on, that's wrong. Zero that out. There we go. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a little bit bigger than ½ inch. It's 0.64 inches, 16.4 millimeters. So definitely much more mass to work with. I know it doesn't sound like much more, but you got to turn that into a square to understand the volume of material we're having to work with. Hi, George. Hi, Dad. Hey, brother. How's it going? I don't think you were on here last week. Yes, on the big TV. Love it. Last week, Jeremy, and Beth. Hi, Beth. I got my first taste of working with coal instead of charcoal. And I was just saying, I'm a convert. It definitely works, gets your metal hot faster, and is a lot less forge maintenance when it's all said and done. You're seeing me just turn the fire over, stuff I was taught last week. You can also see that I cooked some coal because it made some sticky stuff. That's called coke. It basically is much more like the consistency of popcorn than of the coal. Coal is a hard rock, whereas coke, pull it out of the fire. Nope, that one's still too hot. Let's see. We'll let that sit for a second. Let's go ahead and put that chunk of coal in there. I'd say all of this is going to be a little too hot, but it'll cool off really fast. I'll be able to pick that up in a minute. But the reason you're seeing all the fire is actually not from the coke. You don't see coke create fire when air isn't being pushed through it. It'll actually die out on its own. Oh yeah, it wasn't Saturday. That's why brother wasn't there, because you didn't see that I had a surprise live stream. What was it, Tuesday? Or was it Wednesday? But let's see here now. If you leave coke alone, it'll go cold and out faster than you can imagine. I'm holding it now. I'll just go ahead and throw it back on there. So if you're seeing flame, it's probably because there's coal there, and we're burning off the volatiles, turning it into coke. It basically acts like popcorn. It goes from a hard thing, you burn off the volatiles. In the process of doing that, it becomes kind of sticky and clumps together and becomes really light, and then becomes something that gets really hot. Coal on its own wouldn't get really hot. Yep, that's right. Tuesday. So I miss Earl already. It was so awesome having him here in the live stream. I'm hoping to have him as a guest streamer from afar in the future. He had a lot more fun than he anticipated. It had been his first time doing a live stream, but it was not his first time doing demos and such, so he was a natural for this. So the first thing to do is to create all right, getting a little cold. We'll go ahead and put it back in the fire. Create a point on there for the point of the leaf. I need my tool rest. That will make life a lot easier. Let's get that. tool rest right there. Now, is it good right here? Let's find out. Turn the fire over. Make it so you guys can actually see the fire. There we go. Yep, perfect. All right. Really? Did the turkeys wander behind me? That's cool. So when I'm cranking, the fire coming from below is caused by the coke. Let's see, where can you see that? You can see that right, where's my finger? So that fire is coke cooking, but the fire under it, let's see if I can give you that view, right there, that's actually me creating some hot temperatures in there. And it'll get even hotter. This is the very beginning of the fire, so it isn't even mature yet. See if we can get you a better view there. There we go. We can even tilt that, and you can see what I'm looking at rather than now. Let's see if we burnt this up yet or not. See, it can get really hot really fast in there compared to charcoal, which I'm not used to. Oh, let's get it going in the direction I want it to. We're getting close to a point. I think we've achieved what we want right there. Quick cleanup. And I can go over here and do a set down there. Roll it over, do a set down there. Get it back in the fire so we can actually move the metal. Oh, Jeremy, check out this sweet new hammer. I'm going to go ahead and switch modes now so you can actually see what I'm doing at the anvil. I just realized I didn't do that. Yeah, Bruce is with me. Green, yeah, well, we know. We drove through there. I was really surprised. Yeah, isn't that a beautiful hammer? That's, let me turn it around so you can see the logo. I'm not pimping for him because he's asked me to or anything. Mainly because I'm appreciative of the quality of product he's created for us. And if he happens to trip along and see, you know, my stream, I want him to know that I'm appreciative. But that's Fire Creek Forge. He's gotten into making anvils. I think he previously was making axes and such. Oh yeah, that fire's getting good and hot now. Got to be careful not to melt my material now. All right, let's go back to, there it is. Half face blows. Roll it over, do the same thing. All right, now it's established. Let's go over here and make that transition a little smoother so it doesn't end up pinching anything. And then go over here, do it again. There we go. A little more. Then go over here. A little back and forth, and I reduce the chance that it's going to create a cold shut later. This is a big material, so I have less likelihood that that was a problem, but might as well continue to exercise the habit that I've been building. I'll go ahead and move the tool rest up. Now the turkeys are in front of me. We have a couple of free-range turkey hens. They're a heritage breed. My wife would know more about that than I do. As she's the one that obtained them. Today we're going to take a tom that we have. That's why we got the hens. The tom had been living with some chicken hens that I have, and unfortunately he was overly amorous with species that could not handle that. So we had to separate them, and now we've got him some new love interests that will hopefully keep the hens from being pancakes. And so we got to clip his wings today. And then we're going to let him free range with them and see how that goes. I find I go through a lot less coal than I do charcoal to get the amount of heat that I want. Oh my goodness, that got nice and red, or nice and orange, bright orange. We'll come back here. Actually, we'll start drawing it out. Come over to the horn for that. Get things straighten out a little bit better for me. Things started to twist. There we go. No more twisting. I just realized I don't have a light source on this anvil, but I don't think it's really necessary. No, it's not making a difference. We've got a nice sunny day today. I actually set out the solar panels to keep my battery charged. It's always nice to see the sun breaks in the rain during the spring, we'll be able to get out here and take care of some chores without getting damp. Avoiding the M word there for those who have sensitivities. All right. We're getting there. Smooth it out a little bit. Yeah, we're getting there. Doing heavy stuff definitely takes a little more effort, but having it get hot enough and have the right tool in your hand to move the metal makes a big difference. Break up the sticky bits so that more air can get around the stuff and make for a hotter environment. So as I was saying, the only tricky part with working with coke is if I don't get back in the fire and move the crank often enough, the fire will literally go out. On the other hand, that's a real benefit, because if I am done for the day, I can walk away and the fire will go out. The challenge this morning was figuring out what the right methodology is for getting the fire back going again. And it turns out the right answer through trial and error, look how beautiful that is. It actually is sparkling a little. Technically that means I got it too hot, but I'll be a little more aggressive with the breaking down of this material by using my rounded side of the hammer. Let's bring it out to the nose so I can actually get in closer. Then I'll come in here, clean up while it's in the black, known as planishing, and basically take out the lumpy parts that I created in the process. Oop. All right, Stephen, if you're online, here's your first. Enjoy the drink of choice. Me, I'm going to stick with water this time of day. It's still my morning. I got a lot to do. All right, we're getting pretty close. You can see there, well, maybe you can't. I think in the future I'm going to raise that. Matter of fact, maybe I'll do it right now. Let's get it back in here and start it warming. So it's ready for me to start pushing things around. I'll give it a little air to get it started on the way, but it won't actually continue to heat too much unless I keep it cranking. This is where having an electric instead of manual blower would be beneficial, and I may do that soon. I have an old, you know, the blow up holiday decorations. I have an old blower from one of those, and I'm told those and bounce house blowers, especially bounce house blowers, but this is basically the equivalent of that, maybe just a little lower pressure, are about what you need. And so that may be the way to go. We'll see. In the meantime, let me open this up. I'm gonna get my grandfather's tripod here to actually do what I need it to do. And that can be a challenge because it's an old tripod. And it doesn't want to ratchet in there anymore, and I don't see a way to take it apart to fix it. There we go. I think a couple of the teeth, whatever the teeth are, because I don't need a little filing. Okay, I see the teeth. I can do that. I can file those, get them cleaned up so that they'll move better. There we go. As long as it's not the teeth on the crank. Let's go ahead and tighten that down. Let's see if we can give you a better view of the work surface of the anvil, because I had to change which was my primary camera for the Smithy focus, as a piece of software I have in my phone just does not do the trick. It keeps getting out of sync. This doesn't. Hi, Bruce. Bruce waves his tail to Ed, everybody. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have to keep the old equipment, because it keeps our family no longer with us in mind. So I'm all in with that. Obviously, I've got my grandfather's tripod, and he was an avid photographer and a painter. He was a commercial artist in his heyday. And and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Proof that we can actually burn off things in a coal forge, even when you're not sitting there cranking at it. All right. We're not done, though. That is not how this goes. What we have just done is gotten ourselves to the point where we can cut off that bit. There we go. We'll let that sit there. Obviously, I've got something to dig out of there. Let's see if I can do that. And we will do it again. I am going to learn by trial and error just how challenging it can be to work in a coal forge. Let's turn it over. Turn it over. See if we can find the lump of metal that I lost in there. Otherwise, I got to search for it before I start my next fire. And I'm not coming up with it. So this should be fun. Whoop, there it is. Okay. And it's not completely wasted, because that'll become a leaf as well. It just won't be a leaf on a railroad spike. Let's go ahead and put a piece of coal back in there. Let's see what we can do with this. Fact is, It's still actually in good form. It just, I burnt it off at the thin spot because I wasn't paying attention to just how hot it is in there, which is far hotter than I expected. Let's go ahead and leave this here. Let's quench this. Even though it's not terribly hot, no steam coming off of it. Yep, there's the steam. I'm sure it's hot enough that it would cause me some trouble. Wouldn't catch the wood on fire, but that's not what I was worried about. I just didn't want to accidentally grab it. Cause me some quick discomfort. All right, grab another tong here. Give it a little scrub. I'm going to come over here and show you what I'm trying to do. You can see, yep, this way, okay. You can see that there's a lump along here, and what I can't identify yet is if that's metal or if it's coal or a mix of the two. From the feel of it, it's metal that boiled and resettled. So that's not horrible. Something to note. I'll see if I can forge that in, because clearly I can get it to hot enough to forge weld. All right, let's see if I can keep an eyeball on that lump. You guys watch it with me, that way you can tell me about it. Trial and error, and error, and error. Yep. Oh, really? You didn't know you even had a forge? That's awesome. I mean, gives you a whole different insight. I know there are so many aspects of the people I've loved that I don't know. We love our family, and we think we know our family, but it's impossible to know somebody who has decades of history preceding you, unless they're somebody who wants to talk about themselves a lot, and most people don't. So then it comes through incredible finds like that one. Okay, we can see I'm getting the right area hot. Obviously it's not hot enough yet to forge weld, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to get it hot. Let's get it in there. Did you get to talk to your grandmother about it and learn more? Or just the fortuitous find was the extent of it? There we go. We'll go ahead and see if we can tap some of that back into its original shape. Nope, too slow. And the challenge is going to be keeping it where I need it to be able to pull this off. Let's get the other tongs. Also getting it out of the forge cleanly into the anvil. And this is all just because I want to have fun trying it. And I very highly recommend everybody else do the same thing, simply for the fun of trying it. We're going to see if I can keep enough pressure on the end of this tongs while it's in the fire that I can just pull it straight out and not have to think about it. I'm going to need to pull some coke on top. Keep that fire nice and insulated. And give her a few cranks. Oh, that's wonderful. That really is. Take a quick peek. Yeah, there we go. Tappity tap, as they say on all of the of course now it's slipped off, and that's fine. We're getting there. It actually worked the way I wanted it to, staying where I wanted it to. If you're seeing this tong clip for the first time, you're not seeing the traditional C, because I was watching Roy over there at Christ-Centered Ironworks make something like this, and I was like, I can do that. And so there you have it, an S instead, with a couple of leaves on the end. And if you're wondering if it's a challenge to have the camera here, right where you can see the fire, it is, but I do it for you guys because I want to share in the fuller experience that I have as a blacksmith. And besides, you know, if you stay on to the end of my show, you always know that I'm inviting everybody around my fire. And it's kind of hard to do that if I don't actually show them the fire they get to gather around. This every time I put on this this apron, I kind of feel a little bit like Mr. Rogers, and that I kind of have a mission to be the kind of man he was in inviting everybody to his neighborhood. Just take it. All right, yep, there we got some forge welding temp for sure. All right, at this point, I think if it's going to be forge welded there, it is forge welded. Now we're just going to go ahead and start again drawing it out. Of course, I have to be able to keep hold of it. Take a look at that. Now that it's cooling off, I can say with pretty good confidence that I don't think it's going to snap off there. Do I see some fractures there? Yes. Do I think I can do a whole lot about that? I might be able to heat it up again to forge welding temperature and do something with that. You guys can see it. Let's see if I can get a pointer here. What I see is right here is a stress riser, and that's where the material started to bubble away. I saw that before. You can actually see right here that it's not a stress riser, it's a fold over right in here. And so it may forge weld to itself, it may not. I'm going to go ahead and throw a little flux on it just for fun. Flux, in this case, is a material that doesn't necessarily cause metal to flow, as we think of with, okay, where the heck did my spoon go? I lost my spoon. Spoon! Ah, there's my spoon. Fell on the ground. We'll come over here. I don't think it's warm enough right now, so yeah, it's not going to flow at the moment. But the point of flux in this case, well, in any case, is to allow material to flow. And what we're trying to do here in making material flow in this case is to allow the iron oxide. We're going to warm it up, and then we'll go ahead and add some flux. Is to allow the iron oxide, aka the forge scale, to get out of the way, because nothing really wants to bond to iron oxide. Iron oxide, you know, is otherwise known as rust. All right, that's plenty warm enough now to see it flow. Let's get see how it just melts. And what it'll do is it'll melt and become glassy and run right into the cracks. And then when we do the tappity tap tap business, it will squirt out basically. All right, that's more than I need, but frankly, it's a cheap material. It is literally borax, as in 50 mule team, I think it is. And yes, I made that spoon. And I made it decorative because, you know, I like pretty things. So there had been doubts as to whether or not I'd be able to do a forge weld with charcoal. I have absolutely no doubts that I'll be able to do a forge weld with coke. As a matter of fact, I got to be careful not to overheat this thing, and I will do that very fast, as you saw. There we go. It was very soft. It wanted to move all over the place. Continue to make a stem here. Come on, there we go. We're in the black now. I'm just actually wanting to get to the point where I can look at it, pop the scale off. We can use this butcher block brush to help with that. And I'm going to do one more thing before I actually burn myself, because this pair of tongs has been too close to the fire and is very hot. So as I kept inching my finger up, trying to get grip on it, I was getting too close to the heat. And there's your second drink. If you're smart, you won't play the game unless all you're trying to do is keep hydrated. Now that was simply because butcher block brushes are made with spring steel. And so it sprung. And if you haven't seen my Smithy, then you might not know that I'm just reaching over to where my post leg vise is, because I got a huge quench tank over there. Bring it back over here. That is absolutely right. My brother is smarter than he looks. That's why I call her beautiful. All right, let's take a look at it again. Having brushed it down, I should be able to see if there are any serious cracks here. All right, for the camera's purpose, let's bring it in close. Let's see how good it is at focusing, at the thing I want it to focus on. So what I'm seeing here is a tiny little crack there and a tiny little crack there. Now, mind you, this material is railroad spike, and they've got a lot of stresses on them anyway. But I think we're going to be fine. I'll be able to draw that out into a longer stem. It'll be a thin stem this time. I might even, push back into the leaf to get a little bit more of the stem out of the leaf, because obviously this is a very short stem, and we do need to have a loop to go on the key ring, and I prefer it to be a loop that a finger can fit through, because it's also a personal protection device. Any lady would understand what I'm talking about. So let's see, we'll go ahead and draw that out a little bit more first. I think that'd be the way to go. A fishing weight. You've had enough coffee? Okay. Switch to herbal tea then, because I can't make very many promises regarding how many times I'll drop this thing. I am working on another pair of tongs though. You can see up here the remnants of the work from last week, and they're going to become the next project after I finish this, this leaf. Set this over here where you can see it better. And I'm grabbing them with tongs because they've been sitting on the hood, which means they may be a little warm. Not so warm as to cause them trouble, but those will become each side of a tong blank. So let's see if I burned it off. Pretty close. Let's go ahead and tappity tap it back together again. The thin stuff really cools off really fast. Very annoyingly fast. I think it's about as thin as I'm going to get it before I really have a struggle. So let's turn it around, start working it from the other end. Haven't burned it off. That's good. Let's see what we can do on the other side here. And as I was thinking, I'm back down to the point where I need a different pair of tongs. I might be coming to a stopping point with this build. Make the tongs and then come back to it. Let's see. Is this pair of tongs going to pull it off? Nope. So there we have it. We get to the point where I can't pull it out of the fire. It's done. We'll leave it up here for a bit. We'll come back to it after I finish the next project. So you guys don't get to see a finished leaf keyring today unless I can actually forge these into tongs fast enough to get it done before the 11 o'clock hour, and then I can get it back into the fire. I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I don't need this railroad spike sitting in anywhere near the fire at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it out and set it up with the unfinished leaf. We'll turn it into a leafed something or other. I think I'll probably turn it into a leaf bottle opener. A leafed bottle opener basically allows you to, I've made one before. I made one with a railroad spike, but at that point I didn't leave the very observable spike head on there. not observable, but identifiable spike head on there. Instead, I forged it in, and then I turned it into a lever bottle opener. And when I showed it to Susie, she said, "Wow, that's not what I thought you were going to make out of it." She thought I was going to make a leaf bottle opener, and I realized it wouldn't be that hard to do, so I did. So it actually is 2 bottle openers in one for absolutely no good reason. Then I wanted to see if I could do what she had suggested, and why throw away that. I'll bring it out and show it to you. Might have one of my, let me see. Let's see if I can get someone to chase it out here, and then I can just show it to you. And let's see if Jared's available. I know exactly where it is. And sent. We'll see if he brings it out here for me. He may be busy. He is a college student after all, who has papers to write and so forth, so if he can't get it out here, that's no big deal. But and that was warm, as I thought, but not as hot as to cause me harm, and brings me back to something I should say every live stream, and remind myself every live stream, because every now and then, as you see, I make the same mistake that any newbie would. All metal is hot. If you can't remember that all metal is hot, you're going to end up burned. I was going to say you probably shouldn't be a blacksmith, but sometimes you just have to learn through mistakes, as I did when I was living back in Indiana as a high school student, working in a shop where they would modify spreaders for the particular field they would be in, adding metal, taking metal off for the arms that swing out from the sides of the trucks that spreads pesticide and fertilizer. And I came in, and my job was simply keep the shop clean. And I came in and picked up a piece of metal off the floor, and it did not look hot, and I lost a layer of skin. So I about just did it now. Thankfully, this was sitting on top of something that isn't so hot as to cause me physical harm. But yeah, all metal is hot. First rule of blacksmithing. Actually, let's take a moment here and turn this fire over, as Earl would tell me, which means to make sure there isn't anything in the bottom getting in the way of the fire. Bring some of the new coke to the bottom. Getting in the way of the air ports. Not the kind where you fly out of, but the kind where you get to have air come up through the coal, through the coke, to be able to work with it. We can also use the material we're working with to do that, but now, like the railroad spike earlier, it's going to take a little bit longer to warm up, simply because it's not been warmed up yet. Once it's warmed up, I will put the other piece of metal in there too, and start getting it warmed up. Yep, we can see some of the coal in the back is starting to heat up enough to cook off the volatiles and turn into coke. We can also see the fire coming up in here through the coke, which indicates I'm getting good airflow. If you look in here, you can see orange. If you look back in there, you can see some really bright orange. And if I do this for so long, it'll go into yellow. And if I'm not mistaken, this probably could get white hot. I don't know if there's any benefit in white hot. By that time, your metal's burning. But I can slow down the crank here. I can tell I'm getting enough airflow that this is plenty capable. Move the charcoal out of the way here. I don't need it there. I also can take my ash bin and move it because I'm not going to need it anytime soon. Let's take a look at the materials, see where we're at. And we're starting to get a little bit of orange there. That's good. Means we'll move right into bright orange here in a little bit. Put a little deeper in the fire so I get a little more to work with. So, set down, turn, set down, turn, set down. Just reminding myself of the order of operations with this. Because I'm right-handed, the type of tongs I use, you start by setting down the nib, then you turn it to and go to the far side and you set it down there to get the boss in its place, and then you turn it again and you set down the back side of the boss, or the top side of the boss, bottom, top, whatever side you're looking at it from. And then you draw out. So much for your chores, huh? Thank you, Jared. So remember I was talking about the type of bottle opener I'll make. It'll be like this. This is one of the earliest bottle openers I made, where I did something a little more freeform than the punch a hole type of situation. Organic, but as I said, that's not how it started. That's how it started. And that, I learned, will take off not only the bottle cap, but the whole top of the bottle. Very much overkill. I don't think I'll ever put it up on a table where anybody can procure it from me. But there's the finished product of that one. And that's probably similar to what I'll make this this tong here. I mean, not tong, this railroad spike here that I started and burned off the one leaf into, is I'll probably turn it into that, except leaving the spike on the end, giving it something that looks organic out of something that's clearly not. I love being able to do that. You know, me and nature, I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest because I felt more connected here than anywhere else. Because I could be in nature without being terribly uncomfortable. In Florida, I was terribly uncomfortable. In Chicago, even, I would get sunburnt easily. Indiana, where I did my high school years, was all right, but and honestly, I really liked parts of it. But I needed a little more connection with people than what I was making there. It just so happens that the Pacific Northwest turned out to be the best place for me. All right, we definitely got the heat where I need it. Start by doing that first set down for the nibs. There's a lot of material on the far side of this set down, so it should draw out to a decent set of nibs. At least for the kind of work I need to be doing these days, it should. So, let's Let's get it back in the fire. It hasn't lost so much heat as I can't work it, but it's a lot easier to work when it's very hot instead of just a bit hot. Now let me think about that. That could be a little useful. And it would be blunted on the end because it would be flipped around with being the bottle opener. I'll give that some consideration. That could be a new, highly sought after product in my Etsy store when I set that up. I did yesterday buy jackpinesblacksmithing.com. So now I've got to figure out what I want to do with it. I don't think I'll use Etsy, to be honest. Maybe, but I don't think I will. I have this venue, I have Facebook, so I've got two different ways to let people know that I actually have a site. And with that site populated with my wares, I should be just fine and not need to have Etsy to do it for me. Obviously, I'll need some kind of payment processing, but there are others out there. That missed mark will come back to bite me later, but not badly. Ah, yeah, clean that up good. No problem. Nice. All right. The nibs are the length I need now. Good. I would like to actually have it be a bit smoother in the front, so we'll see what I can do here in a minute. The front's got a bit of a curve to it that I would prefer not to have. We'll see what I can do there. It's going to look a lot like I'm trying to upset, but all I'm really going to try to do is straighten it all out and do a little upsetting, but the process will even out when I push it back out again. Yeah, you know, soda pop's great out here. I'm not sure that wine would work out so well. And you know, when the hour is right, as long as one doesn't overindulge, because I would assume limited faculties and fire don't get along real well. I would even enjoy a beer out here, as I did with the other live stream. But yeah, I think wine pushes it to its limit. No corkscrew. That could really bother a leg. Gets warm so nice and fast. And it doesn't take too much to push that back where it belongs. Let's see if I can actually do this without stretching it back out again. I did. All right. That worked out real well. Good. We can thin out and lengthen that a little bit if we need to, but it'd also be good to leave it about that thickness so that I can actually put a V in it. So let's do the next part, make sure I do it right. So think ahead rather than, and it didn't fall on the ground, so it doesn't count. No more caffeine for you, sir. Again, I have to think about it a lot more because I haven't done it a whole lot. So this is the way we're looking at it right now. And the idea is to take it from there all the way over. So we got to turn it counterclockwise when I come out of the fire, from here to here. About that much to give it the length of boss I want. Let me think about this. Now, got to remember where I'm doing it from. It's from the nib. There we go. Right there. All right. So from there, we set it down, start pushing that all over. So I get a flat area for the boss. Okay. You plan it ahead. You don't have to throw away material because you went the wrong way or misremembered what your next step was because you were doing it on the fly. Not for me. I haven't done it enough to do it on the fly. Let's get this for the corner. There we go. It's in the V real good. These tongs aren't made for this size. I'm going to have to come up with another pair of tongs for that. So I'm going to go ahead and make my life a little easier by sliding on. Come on. Nope. Get on there. Well, this clip wasn't meant for this far out. There we go. Nope. It's just plain and simple, not meant for this far out. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up breaking it. Let's not do that. I can see it's messing up my S. I'll have to make another one. I'll just have to be uncomfortable with wide grip. All right, so let's get it in the fire. Let's get this set down done. Yes, sir. Making tongs. I need a pair of flat jaw tongs because I keep making the fundamental beginner's project of leaf keychain dongles, and I get to the point where I've got the stem and none of my tongs can hold on to the dang thing, so I can actually flatten the leaf. So need a tool, make a tool. I mean, that is the process from apprentice to journeyman, right? Welcome back to the channel. Turn the fire a little bit. Oh yeah. When you say kinda sorta, what do you mean? A little deeper. Yeah, I thought I'd seen John here before. All right. Let's use this side. We need to spread that a bit. Now that the set down's done, clean up that little bit of sharpness there. good, good. We got the basic shape going on there. And we need to push it down there. Okay. What you missed, John? The weekly Blacksmith challenge was to make a lamp. So I made a lamp inspired by a colonial rush lamp. Oh, nice, nice. I'm guessing you needed a different kind of set of tongs for that. To catch you up on what's been going on since last time I saw you here, I had to take a trip down to Fort Lauderdale to bring my father-in-law's truck and the remainder of his stuff that we couldn't take on the plane with us when we moved him here a month or so ago. And so me and a buddy of mine, another blacksmith and leathersmith, and goodness knows what other Ren arts he's into. Oh yeah, I know one of those is illumination. He and I did the trip together. Had a wild time, I'll tell more about in a minute, in accomplishing that trip. And before we ended up getting on the road, he reached out to his brother, who's a friend of mine and also a blacksmith, and asked him if he could have a bag of coal. And he not only gave me a bag of coal, he gave me 2 bags of coal. So I now have, here, let's make it so it's obvious what you're seeing over there. Back there on your right is my charcoal, but on the left is a big old bucket of coal, more in the bag, and a second bag behind it, or beside it over here. I don't know if you can see this over here. Right there, yeah. And so yesterday, or Tuesday, was the first time I was able to get back on doing a live stream. Trail Dust showed up for it. So he got to see this in action. My first time working with coal. And Earl being a guest in the Smithy. My first guest blacksmith. So wait a minute, if I were to go on to the weekly blacksmith challenge, I think it is up on Facebook, it's a pair of tongs? You mean I actually am doing something that I could turn in as part of the challenge for once? So it just popped up on my side that the reminder that I do this every Saturday, which will seem like a fib to anybody who noticed that I wasn't here last Saturday or the Saturday before. As I was saying, had to do a cross-country trip, and boy, was that a wild time. Earl will say I am the worst travel planner ever. I know he will say that because he's already said it. Because we didn't listen to my wife. I will definitely go back and take a look. It's been I've been avoiding Facebook most of the time, but one of my favorite reasons to get on Facebook had been to check out the blacksmithing stuff. So I'll go take a look. And that's where I know your name from. I knew your name from somewhere. All right. Now let's see if I remember the direction I need to turn this next. So I did that, or I did that. Now I need to come over and do that. All right. Let's do a set down. All right, I think that's enough. Now the fun part is going to be to get these all in the right shape for a pair of reins. Let's go over here to the horn for that. So, back to what I was saying about my wife being smarter than us. She had told us numerous times that we should take the southern route to get from South Florida to Seattle. The southern route would have carried us through Texas, and Earl really didn't want to go through Texas. Besides which, Google kept lying to us and telling us that if we did that route, it would have added 2 days to our trip, at minimum. And so we didn't listen to my wife. And anybody who knows me and my wife should know that that can be automatically referred to as a mistake. And Earl should have known better. He's known her longer than I have. So instead, we took the northern route. Very similar route as to the Oregon Trail. Now, good news is we did not get dysentery. And we did not end up losing the wagon down the river. Now, we did have to traverse Snake River a few times. Instead, we discovered that April is still winter for them, and ran into a blizzard with blowing winds of 60 miles an hour. And we had a great time up until we got to Laramie. Laramie was fine too. We stayed at a hotel in Laramie overnight. And then the folks in Laramie, whose job, Laramie, Wyoming, by the way, Laramie, Wyoming people lied to us. See, I-80 all along the way have gates across them. I've never seen this anywhere before. Gates that basically tell you, you can't go here. This road is closed. Now, mind you, I live in Seattle, so we have passes, and occasionally the passes close. They're just not traversable. And if I think real hard, maybe there are gates for those, but they warn you way ahead of time that this could be a problem. Now, this is where I come back to the Laramie folks lied to us. And I don't mean any one person. You know, I didn't talk to anybody that told me this. But the folks responsible for the roads from, out of Laramie, I-80, to the next town over, Rollins, they lied to us because they had the gates open. I mean, yeah, there had been snow, but it was all slush out of Laramie. Oh, actually, Laramie was clear. You know, the snow was on the side of the roads. The plows had done their jobs. Let's see if I burned it up, because that is quite possible as I chit-chat here. I did not burn it up. I actually got it warm right in the right place. All right, I'm going to set this down just a little more so that it's... Now I go over here. Actually, let's get a better hold of this. I'm using the wrong side of the hammer. Let's really get aggressive about this. There we go. Come back over here, smooth it out. Start working the other direction. All right, there you go with your next cup of coffee or preferred beverage. That is the game we play on this channel, according to Steve Silvers. Every time Jack drops something. little deeper. There we go. Put this one back up here for now. Let's see if we get to that blank today or not. Herbal tea, there you go. Let's turn that fire. I can't tell if there's airflow at the moment, but it'll be easy to make sure there is if I just scrub it a little with this. Oh yeah, there was airflow. I could see it in the material, and it was going right where I want it. All right, back to the story. I don't think the tongs dropping off of the anvil count, but you guys be the judge. So we get along the way, road's clear. We end up coming up to the first serious climb. By the way, that area of Wyoming is beautiful, if not a lot of brown. Of course, with the snow, it's brown and white, so it was quite pretty. Just not comfortable when it come right down to it, and I'll explain a couple of reasons. First off, the truck we were driving, we were told was a 97 GMC Sierra. Turns out it's an 88 GMC Sierra. We're told it has a new engine and a new transmission in it. What we weren't told is that it's a Florida truck. As such, when my father-in-law decided to soup this beast up and make it so that, you know, it breaks your neck every time you try to step on the gas pedal unless you have something you're towing or a load on it, in it. This souped-up vehicle in Florida didn't need heat. In Wyoming, it needed heat. So, let's get it back on the corner here. Let's go start doing this. There you go, another sip of herbal tea. All right. For those who are curious, I started this craft wholeheartedly about 3 years ago. And when I did not have the stamina to do what I was just doing. In other words, to just keep at it, hitting it while drawing it out over the horn or over the edge of the anvil, but you build it. So, 54 years old. If you've decided that, you know, this isn't something you can do without a power hammer, you're probably wrong, at least in the long run. You just gotta have faith in yourself, keep doing it, and you too will probably develop the stamina necessary. Especially considering I wasn't doing this full time, have not been doing this full time. I've just been doing it on the weekend. So my idea in this channel is to constantly be knocking down all of your reservations as to why you can't do this, because you absolutely can. Just have to finally make it happen rather than make excuses. All right. Very good. Pepsi for you. Got it. So, back to the story. We get out. We're on the clear roads. We start doing our first climb. Of course, there are semis that are doing it a little slower than most. We can expect that. That's typical. And we see the snowplow. And we also see that one of the trucks has decided not to pass the snowplow, and I'm thinking, I'm at least as smart as they are. I also will not pass the snowplow. And he was making good way. He actually wasn't plowing because there wasn't much reason to be plowing. There was a little slush on the road by the time we got well, I'll come back to that. What the plow was doing was putting down their equivalent of the salt sand mixture, whatever that might be. Yes, the wear and tear on a body definitely can be the case. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that. Body definitely is not a forever thing. We can do our best to take care of it, but so anyway, he's putting down their sand or salt or combo, whatever it is they're putting down, and the roads aren't slick. There might be a little slush, but it's mostly just wet. And then the bugger had the gall to decide this is as far as he's going. Pulls off to the middle, turns around, starts heading back the other way. Again, there was nothing out there that told us there was a reason to be concerned until after that. Suddenly we see that where he hadn't put stuff down is starting to become packed snow. And you know, again, this Florida truck doesn't have snow tires. Let's see if I can get this out of here. There we go. Doesn't have snow tires. Why would it? It's a Florida truck. It has good all-weather tires, you know, good for rain. And we're about to go into some serious snowy drive. But it turns out, I mean, I was a Chicago driver in the past. Now, mind you, my buddy Earl is telling me the whole time, I don't do snow. It's all you, man. But like I said, I was a Chicagoan for a time. I didn't say I was good at it, but I had experience driving in snow. So, and then obviously spent my formative years driving in snow in Indiana. So I figured I got this, you know, just be cautious about acceleration and deceleration. All right, that's coming along good. I'm definitely going to thin them out a little more because I like my reins to be springy. And I've got a bunch more here that I want to do. But I think I'm going to end up setting this off down here after I heat it up and turn it into a ball at the end for a change, because I can. Let's get our warm further bit in. So we're going along, and the first sign that finally says something useful says, beware 40 to 60 mile per hour winds. Now I've driven in snow. I've even driven in rain during tropical storms, which have those kinds of winds. I'm telling you, I didn't really care for driving in those things in tropical storms. Now we joked with some. In Florida, we have the same kind of winds, but we name them. It was a whole different world of hurt driving on that ice and packed snow when you have whiteout conditions. the snow that's around you is just blowing in you in such a way. I already couldn't see the lane markers because of the snow that was down, but I couldn't see 2, 3 car lengths ahead. I was living by the mile, oh, not mile markers, the little reflective markers that are on either side of the road. And then one of those 60-mile-an-hour gusts came along and showed me who was really the boss, as it basically turned us around. Literally took the truck and the trailer we were towing, a U-Haul trailer, little 12 by 6 is the biggest they have, but still not a big trailer. Not full trailer, thankfully. Hitched to our bumper hitch because of the age of the truck, it could do that. And literally turned us around 180 degrees right there on the road. Now I counter steered, I controlled it to the best of my ability, but that was a scary moment. And that sounds like as much excitement as we possibly could have stood. But the travel gods had other ideas. So we get laid up there in Rollins. We make it to the other side. All right, so we get turned around, right? You got that bit in your head. It turned out we were extremely fortunate because at that point on the road, there was nobody behind us, nobody in front of us, nobody at risk but ourselves. And thankfully, the God smiled on us better than he did the guy that preceded us down the road with his truck and RV that he had been towing, one of those big cab-over type trucks. That poor dude got flipped, probably because his trailer caught as they tried to pull off the same fancy trick we did. The wheels probably caught and just tipped him right over. We got really lucky. We did not have that happen. Instead, we just spun all the way around. Saw nobody was coming. We ended up in the breakdown lane on the left side of the road. Saw nobody was coming. Waited for a bit more because we were worried that whiteout conditions were hiding things on us. And then pulled out across, did a U-turn right there in the middle of the highway, and kept on going down the road. We quickly checked to make sure the trailer hadn't yanked anything on the bumper. Yeah, did it tip while I was doing that? I wasn't even paying attention. I've had good luck actually drawing out over the horn most of the time. I have nicely rounded edges on this anvil too, so I could always do it that way. But I think in this case, what I struggled with is I didn't get the future rains hot enough at that point. So anyway, we continue on, and we get to a point where the truck doesn't want to climb. Now, mind you, I'd already dropped this truck into first and just left it there because I needed that kind of, I didn't need it to be doing the hard shifts we had been experiencing from this truck while we're on snow, because that'll cause it to break traction. So here I am, pulled to the side of the road. Oh, that's right. We pulled to the side of the road to check the hitch. We pulled to the side of the road and we couldn't get going again. And I thought we're really in for it now. We got lucky. Let's see if this thing is tipping when I'm not looking. You're right. I'll have to do something about that. It's still working better than not doing it over the horn, I think. long as I get it hot enough. There we go. So instead of being back when I thought I'd be back and told everybody, you know, I'd have the live stream last week, we ended up getting laid up in Rollins because we realized we needed to get off the road at that point. But unfortunately, when we looked, there was no place to get off the road until we got to Rollins, Wyoming. Now, I'll say this about the Rollins folks in Rollins, Wyoming. We didn't run into anybody that wasn't pretty awesome. The hotel staff where we stayed at the Holiday Inn Express was incredible. Constantly cleaning, constantly asking after folks to make sure that they had everything they needed. Just a really great experience there. Let me pull this out a little bit. But honestly, we were glad after laying up for 2 days there to finally get back on the road, 3 days later than we expected. We get on the road. Yeah, it's a very aggressive way to draw out. I haven't decided which way I like better. I've done both. The reason I ended up taking up the horn as my go-to is simply because of Roy from Christ Centered Ironworks. He did a spot where he showed different ways to draw out, and it did seem to be the most consistently superior way to do it. But I may have to build on something on the base of this stump just to make it so it's more stable. So we get on the road and we get going, and the truck's hard shifting did something very weird for a change. Instead of doing a hard shift, let's try the face and see if I get a... Yeah, I mean, it works. It clearly works. We knew it would. It's a little more lumpy in its drawing out than over the horn, which I knew it would be. I've experienced that over the past. And time for another drink. You know what's sad? I forgot to bring anything out for myself to drink. All right. Getting close. That hard shift, like I said, did something different for a change. Instead of, let's get the fire back in view. There we go. Instead of hard shifting into second at about 3,500 to 4,000 RPMs, it shifted into neutral. And I knew we were, rhymes with duck. So I pull off, and buddy of mine, Earl, basically said, maybe it's just because the transmission's cold. I hope I fixed that, Trail Dust. The timeout, there were some settings that I went and looked at and futzed with. Honestly, I don't know which one you were falling into. It doesn't give me a report of that nature. It would have been great if it did. I want it hotter than that so I don't have to have it cool off and not be able to work it. But I did some modifications, and hopefully you shouldn't be put in timeout ever again. So John, you're in Ohio? My brother is in Ohio. I don't know if he's still on here watching on Twitch. He said good morning earlier. Well, let me go back over here. I think I like it better. Getting close to where I want to stop there. Let's go over here. Let's see if I can set the set down. Not hot enough. We'll warm it up. We'll make the set down. Okay, let's pull some fresh coal in. Have that start cooking. It's only my second time using coal. I seem to be doing it right. So we stop off, we let it warm up for about 20 minutes on the side of the road. It didn't help. We were stuck in first. The only thing that didn't happen is it didn't start shifting out of first again. So we ended up driving down. I ended up missing the next exit. And I drove down to the third exit for Rollins. And then we drove back to a Goodyear. That's when I discovered this was not a 97 GMC Sierra, but instead an 88 GMC Sierra. It does not have the ODB 2 module in it, only the one. And the folks there at Goodyear, unfortunately, had no idea how to diagnose this problem with only an OBD, I think it's OBD, one module. Told us we should probably take the work the next town over. And so we're now sitting there going, well, now what? Come on. Let's get this set down right and not lose the hold on this. There we go. There's what I'm looking for. Get in there. Good, good. All right, now that's set down nice. I know where my ball end will be, and I should be able to start, or I should say finish, drawing out the reins. In case you guys were interested in seeing. Now I got to think about how in the world that becomes a ball end, but I'm pretty sure I can figure that out. Never done it before. But some folks call me clever. I call myself persistent. I'll figure it out. I think it's the 700 R4. I do. I do believe that it does have a 350, but I don't think it's a turbo. Onboard diagnostics. Yeah, I thought it was OBD. Okay. Thank you. Now I'll remember it better because I remember what it means. So we're sitting there puzzling, how the heck are we going to get it over to the next town? Or do we come up with some other plan B? No matter what, I'm not going to pay somebody to tow it to the next town. That seems silly. So where's the closest U-Haul? Well, it turns out Rollins has a U-Haul. All right, do they have a tow dolly? No, they don't have a tow dolly. And yet, upon thinking about the tow dolly, we realized the best next plan B isn't to tow it over to the next town and hope they can fix it. It's to find a tow dolly and a U-Haul truck, hopefully a 10-foot, because we only had a 6x12 trailer. Well, they don't have those. But this is the second time we can say that the folks in Rollins were excellent. Sandy at the U-Haul there just went above and beyond and started searching where she could get a truck of any size and a tow dolly for us, and enabled us to get the tow dolly by allowing us to rent a local only truck to actually drive to where she found it, which was in Laramie, back where we came from. Now, mind you, this blizzard isn't quite done with the country, but thankfully it was mostly done with Laramie. There's one rub. It doesn't matter if there's a blizzard or not. It turns out between Rollins and Laramie is this section of road around Elk Mountain that's constantly got these freaking 40-mile-an-hour winds. So I get her 10-foot local truck, and I'm driving it back to Laramie, and thankfully we had no problems. I did feel some buffeting. I will say that. There was a time where it was a pretty strong buffeting, time or two, but nothing I couldn't handle. Like I said, it was the snow with the wind that caused us trouble, and there was no more snow on the road, thankfully. We had waited that out long enough. So we get going, and we're getting part of our way towards Laramie when she calls me and says the big old 15-foot truck she was hoping to get us at a truck downsized price, again, above and beyond, isn't going to be there until 5 o'clock that night. And that she thinks she scored us a 10-foot truck in Laramie, but at a different U-Haul site. They have 3 of them there in Laramie. And would I be willing to take that? And I said, absolutely. So it took us a little bit longer, but we ended up getting just the right size truck for our need, the tow dolly for our need, And Earl ended up driving the local truck behind me back to Rollins, and we were able to drop that off, swap loads, and even stop over at the Tractor Supply next door to get a new chicken run and hen house, because while I was gone, my neighbor gave me a bunch of these tiny little frizzle chickens. Now, mind you, right now they're chicks, but they don't get much bigger, it turns out. They're smaller even than bantams. Load that all up in the trailer and continue our journey. There was one other thing we had to do, was to pick up the truck, pay for the service. And it turned out they didn't even charge us for the service, so that was the third time the folks at Rollin treated us really well. So, while I am not fond of the weather conditions in Rollins, I have to admit, I like the place. And if I had to pick a place to live in snow, that might be all right. They even had craft beer there. All right, let me just set this down here for a second, take a look at it, decide, other than smoothing it up and rounding it up, do I need it to be any longer? The easiest way for me to tell is to set them down, take a look at them along with my professional tongs here, professionally made tongs I should say, and take a look. And the answer is, it might be nice to have them just a little longer, but it doesn't need to be a whole lot longer. I see an opportunity right in this area to draw out a little bit and consider it done. I think what I'll do, put these in the fire in this plot where I think I want to draw it out. What time do we have? It's the end of the smithing session. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop necessarily, but it does mean that I've got to wrap up here in a minute. As a matter of fact, what did I dong for? Probably reminding me that I should probably done. Nope, that was just something saying my reminders when to start and stop the stream did not come through, so I've got to see what's going on there. That's not a big deal, but I can't stop before I finish with the story. And there is one thing I want to do just so I can actually easily mark, and it is almost exactly the length of my anvil. We'll go ahead and put a mark actually where it actually is. And forge it to length. So yeah, they didn't charge us. We put it on the tow dolly, we transfer all the stuff, and then Bob's your uncle, we're back on the road. Jimmy buffeting. Yeah, I mean, I saw that another blizzard came through the Great Plains area just a day or two ago. So, no thanks. I love my green. I'm going to just turn you around and share a little bit of that because, yeah, goodness knows, some folks could probably use seeing that. Oh, let me switch it to the mode, makes it easier to see. take you outside and show you some flowers and turkeys walking around. The pretty green that's up on the horse chestnut tree. As it's popping loose, you can see the flowers starting to come in on the old apple tree. Even our peach tree over there is showing signs that it's ready to be spring. So, let's see, did I move things around too much? Let's find out. Ah, good. Let's go ahead and switch back to the anvil. There we go. There we go. All right. So, yeah, we made it just outside. Where did we make it that day? We continued our drive. We got out of Wyoming and into Idaho. I think that's how it went. You know, saw some pretty stuff along the way. Had no more real serious weather issues. Did see some rain, but frankly, rain's no big deal. Had no issues with the rest of the drive. And, you know, all in all, the trip was actually pretty fun. It just, it got a bit hairy there in the middle. I will say, I don't have anything against Nebraska or Nebraskans, but man, it's a bleak state to drive through. There's just nothing to be seen. Well, that isn't quite true. Something I didn't expect were sand dunes and what I consider water birds, cranes and the like. I'm trying to think what I did see. There were types of cranes. Oh, also in Wyoming. What the heck are seagulls doing in Wyoming? Did they lose track of where they are? I mean, in the winter even. It's not like they went, you know, to warmer climes. It's literally just doesn't seem the right place for them. But yeah, Idaho, Utah. Utah was interesting. I can understand why the Mormons deviated from the Oregon Trail and landed there, because if you make that deviation accidentally, perhaps, and you find yourself suddenly in a verdant valley. I mean, they actually had spring there, and it was green, and then you climb out of there, and you're back into the, you know, the more winter climbs without buds on trees or anything. So. But then we got into, you know, the Yakima Valley and saw all the hops growing and learned that they're also a center for wine, grapes. That was pretty neat to learn. But anyway, as I'm saying, the rest of the journey went pretty uneventful. Just that little bit of fun in Wyoming. There wasn't any weather until we got there, as a matter of fact. I was surprised to not see any rain the whole trip until we got out of Wyoming. And in Wyoming, it wasn't rain. Let's see if we got the length we want now. Get it straightened out first. Nope. All right. Nope. All right, so I want to taper it towards the tail, tail of the reins. Let's see. I think I've got a little bit too much thickness in here and here. Let's work on that first. Let me take a quick look at what's going on in the household so I know if I actually absolutely have to stop now. I think I do. Where are you headed? I was just about to look. What's that? Okay. Would you hush already? I can't hear my wife. What ends today? Bean? Okay. My wife telling me what she was up to. Heading out for a little bit. And the reason I typically stop at 11 is I can have back problems. And my wife asked me to give that some consideration as to how long I should do this at a time. But I'm actually feeling pretty good. But I do have to stop soon because I got a lot of other chores to take care of. Hobbies are definitely a nice way to just relax from the grind. But my other hobby is being a chicken tender. So I got to tend to my chickens. I got some clean out I need to do. I don't feel like I'm getting the airflow I'm supposed to right this second, so let's do what Earl said and turn the fire. There we go. I am definitely a convert to coal. The fact that I haven't had to really add any fuel during all of this, I just stack some up in the back and pull it in. About 2 fistfuls, and I'm sure I've only touched one of those. The fact that I don't have to douse or control how much fuel I have in the fire at the moment because it'll just go out when I stop. The fact that it's hot enough to burn off a massive leaf on my, well, obviously the stem wasn't massive, but easily burn off the leaf from the stem of a railroad spike. Allow me to forge weld back in the burnt off stuff. Let's see what its temp is like right now. It's a touchable temp. I can look at it here. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. It's got some scale I want to knock off there just to look at it better, but I cannot complain at all. Just got to become more masterful with controlling how long I keep something in the heat, because this stuff gets hot. Okay. Yeah, let's thin this area out a bit. Give me some spring back at this end where I can we go. Nicely smoothed out. These are probably going to be the best looking tongs I've made yet. Which isn't saying much considering the other two look like horse poop. What do we got for length now? Thinning that out like I did. We're almost there. Thin out this area just a little bit because it's kind of bulky. And I will have a half a set of tongs done. But that can't suffice because as John had let me know, I got to get a pair done this weekend. Is that right? It's got to be done this weekend, right? For me to be able to submit? If you're still there, John, let me know. Well, I couldn't say donkey or dog because I have those. But it's true. It doesn't look nearly as pretty as any of those. But I have to say, I have to give a big hat tip to Sandy at U-Haul. She definitely was a lifesaver. And a huge hug, maybe even a wet sloppy kiss to Earl for being the best pilot slash co-pilot, you know, road trip buddy that I could have asked for. Let's switch to that pair of dookie looking tongs. See what I'm saying? They're not pretty, but they happen to have what I need right now, which is the ability to hold something around a blobby or bendy spot.